Welcome back to the channel. I have a lot to update you on because since the last video I made, we've had Jerome Powell turning the tide for the market a little bit. And I want to explain exactly why we have seen this recovery since last week and what I think the impact of his speech will have on the markets heading into FOMC in mid-September. So today I'm going to give you a full update on my current thoughts in the market, my current approach, how the timelines on a rally may have been shifted slightly, and I'm going to keep things short and concise for you here so you just get all the information that you need to know, and then you can enjoy the rest of your weekend. So looking across the altcoin market in the past week, we have seen some pretty big gainers. Obviously, Bitcoin and Ethereum have rallied since the weekly lows. I think for Bitcoin, it was 112. We actually wicked into this pocket that we discussed on the last show. Paradise did a great trade on that. So well done, Paradise. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying his new channel, Paradise Trades. I'll leave a link in the description below if you want to check it out. He's been smashing it. Ethereum as well had a nice bounce. It actually wicked back down to 4K. It was the strongest horse out of the pack. As I mentioned in the last show, when the market rallies, Ethereum is showing the propensity to perform stronger, and that was something that I anticipated when we did get a recovery. Obviously, we didn't know that it would be on Friday, but we knew that Ethereum was probably going to be the strongest horse, and you can see this looking at the line charts on the right here. But since the rally, we have seen the market starting to come back down a bit today. Athena, which obviously put in very strong gains, has started to come back down a bit. I still have a position open in this that I'll update you guys on Blowfin in just a minute. We've seen a few other coins like OKB, which have been outperformers, also pulling back. Pengu, which had a really nice bounce, pulling back slightly. So they haven't retraced all of their gains since the pump, but they have retraced a little bit. You might be wondering, is now the time to get in? Is this like a mini dip that we should be buying ahead of the week? Well, I'll get into that in today's video and what I am doing. But just to recap, we had a strong response. I'll get into the reasons why, and now we've started to see the market pull back a little bit. Before we go into my thoughts on that, I just want to give you some quick technical updates and just make one observation, and that is looking at the strength of Ethereum versus Bitcoin right now. So looking at Bitcoin, it actually just pumped into the channel high. So once again, giving us a lovely range low to range high trade, which we did take in the Discord. So, and also on Paradise's channel, we talked about that a couple of days ago. So this range has pretty much been the range on Bitcoin since the 11th of July. It's going on 2 months now that it's just been ranging. Now we have seen deviation into highs. We saw a rejection here, slight double top forming, and we have seen this low being pressed against a few times. But overall, Bitcoin is just in a downtrend, and until it can confirm above this level here at 117.2 and confidently flip above, then I don't think we are going to be targeting highs on Bitcoin. Overall, Bitcoin does look exhausted, just saying it how it is. Bitcoin looks a little bit exhausted, and it might take some time to recover. Now, on the flip side, Ethereum does not look exhausted. And this is where the market is really interesting because it's starting to deviate in terms of bullishness on Bitcoin versus Ethereum. Bitcoin looks exhausted, but Ethereum is pressing up against highs. And if we go down to the H4 and the daily, it's actually holding. Like it's barely dipped since its local top on Friday. So Ethereum actually is looking much stronger than Bitcoin right now. And if I had to guess, this chart looks like it wants to break new all-time highs in the extremely near future. I would be willing to bet some point in the next month, but potentially actually before mid-September. This is just what the chart is telling me, whereas Bitcoin looks quite weak. So we're in an interesting spot for the market because when Bitcoin looks like this, typically altcoins have performed really badly. Typically Ethereum performs really badly, but we are in a slightly new environment now where Ethereum is outperforming Bitcoin because it has better catalysts, it's better set up from a treasury bid perspective, it's not as saturated as a trade, and Michael Saylor hasn't slowed down, who's been a big driver of Bitcoin, so it actually has the upper hand in the market right now, which in turn is keeping altcoins a little bit stronger. So from a structural perspective, this puts altcoins in a slightly better position. And as we head into a potential rate cut, I think this holds the market in good stead. I'll talk about Jerome Powell's speech in a couple of minutes here, and I'll summarize at the end of the video what I'm doing in terms of my active positioning right now. To summarize on Bitcoin versus Ethereum, Bitcoin looks exhausted, Ethereum isn't, and Ethereum is actually leading the alts right now, so that's a good thing. I still, as I said on the last show, wouldn't deviate too much away from Ethereum and ETH betas, given the fact that these are the strongest relative plays in the market right now. So any dips, any accumulating, any breakout plays that you take, I would still be focusing on the ETH ecosystem and not straying too far down the altcoin market, because risk reward I still think skews in the favor of ETH just due to how its chart looks looks versus many altcoins. Bit of a pro tip for you guys: if you are trading altcoins right now, obviously use US dollar pairs to, get the key levels and your invalidations and that stuff, but make sure you're only getting into coins that have alignment not only on the USD chart, but also on their ETH pairs. So you can search on TradingView, for example, Pengu USDT / ETH USDT, and you can hit enter and you can actually get the Pengu chart versus ETH to make sure it's in an uptrend. Just using that as an example, but you can do that for any alt to make sure that it looks strong against ETH, because at this stage in the cycle, you're looking to outperform ETH, given it's probably the highest or the best risk-reward play in the market right now. Before I get into what Jerome Powell said and what I'm doing as a result, I wanted to just let you know that I did release the new vlog on the vlog channel. So you guys probably saw last week, I released on this channel a week in the life in Dubai video. This vlog is a little bit different. The next week, I actually went to Maldives, and I had a work week in the Maldives where I did multiple streams, shows, meetings. As you can see here, I'm on a meeting by the beach. It was an absolutely amazing trip, but what I realized, and if you watch the vlog, you'll probably see, working from a tropical location like this in crypto is very difficult, because unfortunately, the crypto market doesn't care where you are, whether you're in Dubai, whether you're in Maldives, whether you're in Europe. The market does what the market does, and that forced some pretty difficult situations that you'll see if you do watch the Maldives series. So part 1 is out now. It's on the channel. What I want you guys to do is watch the vlog and let me know what your favorite part is. And I'm going to be giving 3 lucky commenters a $200 airdrop that comment their favorite parts. So watch the whole video. I think there's lots of alpha in this video. I go through behind the scenes of me recording these shows from the Maldives, doing live streams. I give you guys some alpha on EV, how I trade. So, it's not only just holidaying. There's actually a lot of alpha kind of behind the scenes of how I actually think about the market, which I think will be interesting beyond just the location. So to summarize, comment your favorite part of the vlog, link in the description below. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, because before I pay out the funds, I'm going to make sure that you are subscribed. And lastly, I'm going to give 3 lucky commenters $200 USD each. The winner will be announced tomorrow on the video. So I'll basically reply to 3 people asking for your IG or X to organize your payment, as long as you are subscribed to the channel. So let me know what your favorite part is. Put yourself in the running to win $200. And make sure you are subscribed. We're doing weekly vlogs, and I think it's cool because I get to show you guys behind the scenes. Obviously, I love making these crypto videos, but I must say the vlogs have been a massive breath of fresh air for me, and I really do enjoy making them, showing you guys my life behind the scenes, showing you guys, what it takes to actually be a crypto trader and, run a crypto business. There's a lot more than just maybe these videos that you see. So, all right, moving on from things now, getting back to crypto, let's do a quick recap of my last video. So in the last video 3 days ago, I said that in a month, this crypto trap will be obvious, but it's too late. And what I talked about was the fact that a lot of people were being trapped out of the market. And I basically gave you guys, a bit of an ultimatum. I said, if you think Ethereum is going to hit new highs at any point in the next 6 months, then any dip is an opportunity. And I said, if you don't, then you should probably be exiting the market anyway. But personally, I do. Hence, any major dip is going to be an opportunity. And I went through a few setups that I thought were strong in the market. A couple of these setups were Block. This is a World Liberty Finance trade. I spoke about it at this level here. It actually dropped to around 13 cents at this support. This, the next day, actually ended up going to almost 20 cents. So there was quick gains on that call in the video. Another one which was absolutely crazy was Mind Network. I spoke about it at 7.3. Now, it did have some very choppy price action a few hours post the video, but then the next day it absolutely exploded up to, I think at one point it was like 15 or 16 cents. So it was almost at one point a 2.5 to 3x since I mentioned it in the video, which was absolutely insane. So hopefully you guys were able to make some profits from the last video and actually capitalize on the bounce that the market gave us. My leverage positions also improved. So you could see the portfolio here. I was underwater a little bit at the end of last week, but I stuck fat. I actually doubled down. If you watched the video, you would know I actually added to my trades. I added to my ETH trade. This is now up $8,000. Yesterday it was up 10K, but I'm keeping it open because I think it's only a matter of time before ETH makes new highs. My Link trade's also doing very well, up 60%. Pengu trade's doing well. I'm comfortable in that. ENA slightly down. It was up yesterday, but it's had a bit of a dip today, but I'm keeping it open. And Bitcoin although it's the weaker out of the two, and you can see here I only have 47k in Bitcoin compared to 150k in ETH, I'm still holding it open because I also think it's only a matter of time before it goes to the channel high again. It's kind of just oscillating in this range. I might shift out of that into ETH if ETH starts breaking out, so I might have a slight pair trade there. But just for transparency reasons, wanted to keep you updated on these positions. Just to make you guys aware, I'm mostly a spot trader. My spot positions are more significant than my leverage trading positions, but my positions here are just for a bit of fun, to keep me active in the market, keep me in tune in the market, and make some little profits where I can. But I don't want you guys to get the wrong impression like, oh, Mars is a big leverage trader. Like, that's not the case. It's just fun for me. I'm just trading that account for fun to see if I can run it up from 100k to like a few 100k on the show. I think that would be a fun thing to do, but that's by no means my main game. I just want to make that clear before you guys get the wrong impression. I think for the majority of people, it's best to actually stick to spot and not leverage. I think once you become more advanced and experienced in the market, then you can start incorporating leverage. But as you'll see from the way I've been trading it, I didn't get shaken out last week. Everyone was really scared last week when the market was dipping, and I just stuck to my thesis that no, I think ETH's going to hit highs. I didn't know that Jerome Powell was going to come out and said what he said, which we're going to get into, but I did know that at some point the market would recover, and that's why I made this video and added to those positions. Before we get into the Jerome thing, one thing I want you to keep your eye on is WLFI. It's World Liberty Finance, Trump's DeFi project. It's at 24. If this goes down, and I even think now it's a decent trade, but if this goes lower, I think it could be a decent one because they're only launching at like I think a 5% float. I think the Trump family and Trump are incentivized to see this do really well. And yes, $24 billion is a huge valuation, but it's actually only going to launch at around $1 billion market cap because it's only a 5% float. And that discrepancy could mean it actually has a pretty strong pump on launch. So there's a lot of shorting and trading happening in pre-market. The spot listing isn't live yet, but so you can, trade pre-market potentially and go in with low leverage. This is something that I'm personally doing with not with high conviction, just with a bit of capital. And then I'll probably look to, once the spot listing comes out, to actually load up with a bit more size. I am interested in this. I think it could be a good short-term trade, and I think risk reward skews to the upside. The other reason why I have exposure to Block is because this is a beta to the World Liberty Finance token, because actually Matt, the founder of Block, is on the board. I think he's the CIO of the Alts Foundation, which is linked to World Liberty Finance as well. He's also an advisor for World Liberty Finance. So there's a link there. There could be some interesting stuff which arises due to this collaboration, and it's a 73 million market cap. When I first made the call on the video, I think it was 50 mil market cap around there, compared to World Liberty, which is going to be $1 billion plus an FDV of 24 billion. So higher beta exposure there, obviously riskier, but higher beta exposure. That is basically the logic. All right, now let's get into Jerome, because I want to talk about the dynamics at play. It's very important to understanding this next period in the market, especially heading into September, mid-September, when we are getting FOMC, and the market is thinking there's probably going to be a rate cut. And the odds of a rate cut were actually dipping below 50%. I believe they hit 40% prior to Jackson Hole. Traders were feeling quite uncertain, but I think Jerome surprised a lot of people. He actually come out and he focused mainly on jobs risk. So he focused on his concerns surrounding the labor market and not so much on his concerns surrounding inflation. Now, although inherently this isn't dovish, it wasn't hawkish. And I think the market was expecting a hawkish presser. So he basically was straddling the line between keeping his political friends happy, and I guess the Trump party, who really wants rates to come down, and also staying in line with his beliefs and his mandate. But the fact he didn't skew too much to the latter, I think, is the main reason why the odds actually shot up back from 40% to 90% at one point of a rate cut, and why the market actually rallied, because the probabilities of a rate cut did increase after the market took his presser to be more dovish. Now, since then, we have seen a slight reduction in these probabilities, back from 90% to 75%, because I think the market is starting to realize that even though he did focus more on jobs risk, not inflation risk, it wasn't an all-out, bull signal. By no means was it I am definitely cutting rates. And I think the market started to realize this. Conference was maybe a bit more neutral than, the initial excitement of the slight uncertainty of a hawkish presser going out of the way. And we've started to see a little bit of a cool off, which means I think September is still crucially important. By no means is a rate cut a lock. Now, if the 75% does come to fruition, like I think it will, and we do get a rate cut, then the market is probably going to react quite well, because then uncertainty's fully out of the way. This 25% probability at the current moment of recording this video doesn't come to light, and I think that does free up the market for a bigger rally. But until then, the market still might be a little bit jittery. So to summarize, we're still in a better position than a week ago, but until there's an official rate cut, the market is still a little bit uncertain. So that combined with the fact that I don't think Bitcoin has the firepower to attack new highs yet makes me slightly muted in my expectations for the next couple of weeks. However, that is juxtaposed with a very strong Ethereum chart. So what I'm going to be doing personally is keeping my eye on an ETH breakout. If we do get an ETH breakout, I'm very interested in trading long continuation on ETH and ETH betas that correspond well with the ETH chart. So if I were you and I missed the dip, let's say you didn't watch this video, you haven't made any money, not this video, not the vlog. It does have alpha in the vlog, but not crypto alpha. I meant this video. If you missed that, and you're wondering, okay, should I start positioning now? I would be patient. I would look to potentially play one of two scenarios. One, an ETH breakout trade like I discussed, or two, look at potential dip buy scenarios if the market shows any signs of uncertainty into mid-September. We do have more data between now and then. We will probably have more headlines coming out between now and then, which create volatility. So any wick to the downside, I do think that would be an opportunity. Now, if the shock happens and we don't get a rate cut, I think that would be bad for markets. You might see ETH revisit the lows. You might see Bitcoin revisit, these lows here, and the market might cool off. But that's not my expectation, and that's not what the probabilities are suggesting. So I can only go with the probabilities now. I can only go with what Jerome said at his presser, and what he said was materially better than what the market was expecting last week. So naturally, you're going to have a more bullish bias than you might have had mid last week. And this is a constant adaptive thing based on the presses, based on the data. So you have to maintain adaptive in this environment. But what I said in the last video rings true. If you think ETH's making new highs, then any dip's an opportunity, regardless of what happens in the short term. And I do think people should stop chopping themselves up in the short term and worrying about every ebb and flow and just play at least the mid to long term game a little bit more. Because Total 2 still looks incredibly bullish. I mean, this does include Ethereum because it's only excluding Bitcoin, and it does include stablecoins. So the other chart looks slightly weaker, but this chart still looks really good. I mean, you have higher lows coming in, you have higher highs coming in, you have compression with the noodle, this diagonal, into a key high at the $1.72 trillion mark. So for me, this chart looks like it wants to go higher. Clearly, Ethereum's going to lead that breakout, but overall, this chart looks like it wants to go higher. So every decision that I make is keeping this in the back of my mind until we start seeing a structure shift. But yeah, why would I even think of that right now when, it could, come back down and make another higher low, but I do assume compression will happen until the point that this level just can't hold anymore, and we do see a burst through. It's a similar setup on Total 3. So even if you want to exclude Ethereum, be like, oh, but you're talking about, Ethereum here. Well, it's a very similar setup on Total 3. Right now, you also have higher lows. And if you want to look at others to BTC, this is the others chart looks a lot more bullish than this, but others to BTC, which I think is the better index because it's tracking the altcoin market, not including stablecoins versus major stables versus Bitcoin, you can see that this has also maintained strength despite the fact we've seen pullbacks. And it actually maintained strength during the last pullback and the pullback before, which is a little bit of a regime shift from what we saw previously, which was every time Bitcoin would dip, alts would absolutely just, spiral to the downside. But now when Bitcoin dips, alts are still grinding upwards, which is, I think, a good sign for the market overall, and you shouldn't be ignoring this. And I think we continue to head into this orange zone here. We seem to have flipped on the daily and the 3-day momentum, so it would make sense to see a continued push into this zone, and we'll see then how it reacts to resistance overall. So that's all I've got for you today. That is my update. I will see you tomorrow for another market show to keep you updated once we get the news cycle going again. Remember, watch the new vlog, link below, and comment your favorite part. There's a lot of value in the vlog. If you are subscribed and you comment your favorite part, I will be picking 3 people to win $200, and the winner will be announced tomorrow in the comment section on the vlog. So come back tomorrow and check again if you won after you commented. And in the reply, I'll ask for your X or your IG. I'll verify it's the same account that's commenting. And then I'll organize the payment directly through there. So enjoy the vlog. I think it's a good one. I enjoy giving you guys behind the scenes look at stuff. I think some of you, not everyone finds it interesting, but for the people that do, I think it's interesting. I grew up watching vlogs, so I personally enjoy the medium, but let me know what you think. Let me know if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one tomorrow. Peace out.